He was concerned, or is concerned, that that there's a lack of perhaps ideological direction in Black Lives Matter that would allow it to fizzle out, as he said, in comparison to Occupy Wall Street. But how do you respond to those kinds of, again, loving criticisms?
I think that the criticism is helpful. I also think that it might, I think of a lot of things. The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories.
There are 3 co-founders of Black Lives Matter. Here's the third, Opal Tometi, pictured with Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro, a man who leads a socialist regime with the world's most brutal and murderous police force, responsible for the highest rate of killings by law enforcement officers. Indeed, Venezuela's rate of killings by law enforcement officers is more than double the next highest country, according to official data. Here's a UN report from last year on the country's grave human rights violation, noting that in 2018, the government registered 5,287 killings purportedly for resistance to authority. Between 1st of January 19th of May 2019, another 1,569 people were killed, according to government figures. Other sources suggest the figure may be much higher. So even according to the Maduro regime's own figures, the country is responsible for the highest rate of killing by law enforcement, a per capita figure well above Syria and Afghanistan. Why would a co-founder of a group that supposedly cares about black lives and police brutality be cozying up to a dictator with such a horrendous record? It's worth noting that this get-together in 2015 happened a few months after Maduro's police force officers murdered a number of protesters, including a 14-year-old child.
David Valania was shot by Venezuelan police during a protest in Caracas on Thursday. He was 22 years old and a medical student. The president had said police were only allowed to use tear gas and water cannon during protests. But just a few hours later, Valania was shot. He's the 76th person killed by police in 6 weeks of anti-government protests. But with Maduro's government showing little sign of backing down, he may not be the last.
The BLM co-founder said when in the once prosperous country that has turned into an oppressive hellhole that millions have fled. She tweeted, "Currently in Venezuela, such a relief to be in a place where there is intelligent political discourse." Intelligent discourse? If you disagree with the brutal regime, you get locked up, tortured and killed. There is no discourse, only blind adherence and suffering in silence. And that's precisely what's been asked of you. If you object to Black Lives Matter's divisive brand of race politics, if you object to their anti-capitalist, anti-police, anti-meritocracy philosophies, you won't be shot, but you can be fired, cancelled, or declared a racist. If you're going to submit to the mob and take a knee, then know precisely what you're supporting. It ain't about racism or police brutality. It's about clearly defined extreme neo-Marxist ideology.
Why am I worried about statues coming down in the United States? It's because I'm seeing the same pattern repeat. Seeing how things change so rapidly back home. I remember the statues of Christopher Columbus being knocked down. After that, the street names changed. Not all of them, but quite a few of them. They changed the flag of our country. They also changed the name. They dismantled our police in 2001 and put in place a new one. They changed our voting system, so the way we voted changed. The founder of one of the groups that started this whole attack on symbols and statues already said openly that she's a trained Marxist. They've already shown friendships to the Venezuelan regime. So yes, this is all hitting a little bit too close to home.
You can't say you weren't warned.